Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here. It is 6:36 a.m. Sorry for the late start. Just actually having some technical difficulties. I changed my VPN. Okay, I changed it to a dedicated IP because a lot of sites were thinking that I was some kind of, I don't know, fake person. I don't know, whatever. And so when I did that, my computer just got a lot more slow. Yeah. And so I'll click something and then it sits there and computer just clocks like it's the 90s. Um, so for the moment, though, looks like Bitcoin is not done going up. Looks like my short trade is going to get knocked out. So we're going to go straight into the charts here. Let's go ahead and do that. Give me 1 second to share the screen. Yeah, I had a short on, and look, Bitcoin is at a point where it could definitely go short. And if you want to get that decent risk to reward, you have to get into that trade as soon as it is at the top of a range. And it has created a range. And I thought that this would head down, but as it stands right now, and as of the last few minutes, it just started popping up. So it looks like that short might get knocked out again. And that's one thing I rarely short Bitcoin, but the algo said go for it. So I went ahead and trusted it. And I've talked about this on numerous shows. My record of shorting Bitcoin is not that great. It's profitable. I make money doing it because I have such great risk to reward when I do short. But to get good risk to reward, that's where you got to kind of get in and this is for the most part with most algos, you get in just as the algo says, okay, right? So it's kind of one of those things where, okay, you might get like a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 risk to reward trade, but then, you don't necessarily win that trade. You got to do a few of those and then you got to win on the averages, but the trade's not lost yet. I believe that's my stop loss that you're seeing on the screen. I have to look on a different screen to verify that. Let me actually drag that screen down a bit so I can monitor that. Not out of the trade yet, so we'll see how that goes. But as of now, it does look like Bitcoin does want to head up, but there's a good chance that it's not going to do that. The line you're seeing is not my stop loss. My stop loss for, of course, anybody in Algo Factory knows the trade. I don't always share the trades publicly. In fact, I usually will trade them only privately, but it's around 53,500. That's my around about there is my stop loss. So there's some time to go here before I'm out of that trade. Still in it, but it looks like Bitcoin does want to mob up. Well, I mean, if you look at the range here, and I put my stop loss way up there for this reason. This range is more or less up in this area. So it's at the top of the range right now. It actually would be one thing could be done would be to take a short right this moment as it is kind of towards the top of the range. Of course, someone, depending on how you look at this range, it might be above. This might be looking at a breakout of that range. If I were to zoom in a little bit and take a look at some lower time frames, we might see that, okay, actually the range looks a little more like this. And this is a breakout. So we'll see how it goes. I did think that again, that, the price would head down from here, but it looks, and, there wasn't a lot of liquidity above price. And price at the time was favoring a move back down when I took this trade. So you don't win all trades. And when you short Bitcoin, you are kind of asking for trouble. Like I said, my record in shorting Bitcoin is profitable. It's not as good as logging Bitcoin, that's for sure, though. So we'll see how this goes. Trade is still well within not being lost. There's a lot of room up to the area. As a matter of fact, my stop loss was based on the Kingfisher data, which we are going to grab some liquidity right now and see what's going on with that. Let me see if I can grab myself a free spin to win, grab some free credits over on the Kingfisher. No luck there. Now let's see if we can take a look at the liquidity, see where it all is. Okay, why? I hate when it does that. Yeah, so there's not any real liquidity at all. There's like just a little bit up by 56,000, but up until there's really not anything. So price is just kind of heading up. There's a ton of liquidity to the downside. Look at this. There's a lot of it down at 50,000, 49.7, and there's a ton where my target is. That's why my target is there. It's here at what 48,400. There's just a bunch of liquidity, 48,250 actually. So, and then there's a ton down in the 40s. But you know what? I will tell you, in a bull market scenario, price could just keep going up and leave this behind. When price and spot are ready to go up, it goes up. And what happens down here is not necessarily relevant. But typically, while you have a lot of liquidations down below, price will go down to grab those until the market is exhausted. However, when FOMO hits, anything can happen, and not all rules are always followed. So we'll see. We'll see right now. Already, this move up is getting rejected. This could be a little bit of a bull trap, and my trade still goes through. And this is why my stop loss is way up here, right? This is why my risk to reward is what it is, not as healthy as some of my trades, but still very healthy. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm kind of 50-50 on it at this point with this move up here. But hey, that's trading for you. Okay, good. So let me take a look at the comments here. We got a few people here watching. Good. All right, we got a little crowd. Hey, listen, if you all want to see something in the charts, let me know, right? If you want to see, whatever. You want to see Ethereum, you want to see a Microsoft, you want to see some ETF, SP 500, speak up. And you don't have to be an Algo Factory member. That's why we do this as the public live lab, right? This is for anybody to come in and ask questions. Now, I don't believe I can see comments on X. So if you're watching on X, I don't think StreamYard loops in those comments. So you would have to come on to YouTube to ask questions. Say, hey, I want to see what, PAAL or whatever cryptocurrency or stock you want to see. We can chart that for you. Okay. So, let's take a look at Ethereum. I know Ethereum has been hot. The basically what's going on here, and I talked about this in the video that I put out yesterday on what was basically a day off for most of the U.S. President's Day. A lot of people take that day off. Now, when I was a kid, President's Day was actually there was Lincoln Day and there was Washington Day, right? So you would have, a day for each of them. So that's when I was a kid. And then they went ahead and, they got cheap. They got cheap on days off and combined it into President's Day. That was a dumb move. You messing with my days off, man. Yeah, Ethereum targets, we're about to hit one of them, which was at 3,050. We're right at 3,000, and I mean, I would say it's going to break 3,000. I see no reason why price shouldn't break 3,000. Everything is bullish with Ethereum. The market kind of seems to think that Bitcoin has found an equilibrium in its current range, and it might. And when I say current range, I don't mean just in that range that I drew. I mean probably in the 40s to 50,000s, right? Somewhere in there, somewhere within the 40s or the 50,000s. The market seems to think the price has found at least a temporary liquidity equilibrium on the way up. Now, typically right before the halving, which is coming up in April, typically before the halving, price, kind of goes up and it will find an equilibrium, right? It'll even fall a little bit right before the halving, like the week before the halving, 2 weeks before the halving. Now, there's not a lot of data on the halving. We've only had 3 of them. We can't use prior data on the halving to really justify some kind of position on what's going to happen. I mean, we can do a basic position where price kind of goes up during this general time. That's about the best thing that I can, that's about the strongest theory I can put out there, is that the halving is bullish, right? Because even before the halving and after the halving, price will have pullbacks, but price tends to go up. So let's go ahead and take a look at. Yeah, I mean, it's March says we broke 3,000. It's at 3,000 now on KuCoin. So it's like just 3,001. And I expect it to head up. I got this target up here at about 35.86, but I would be conservative because of using this fib extension. I probably would keep my targets around 3,400 on Ethereum. So Ethereum's raging up. DWAC, Mavbit wants to see Donald Trump's media company, Digital World Acquisition Corp. Looks like it's been strong for several days. All right, so that's like going back to 12th January. So something's going on. I imagine it has to do with I don't know. He's getting a lot of press, that's for sure. He's getting a lot of press. He's there's been a historically high um without getting political, right? In New York, he was charged with fraud, and I think they gave him a conviction, if I'm not mistaken, or a judgment. I don't know what you call it over there. And the judgment was something like, oh gosh, $300 billion or something ridiculous. I mean, it's an activist judge, and it's Donald Trump is going to be persecuted because he's Donald Trump. So, the that's what's going on. Okay, so you're looking at it being approved by the SEC. Well, it was hanging out. It ranged between 12 and basically a super tight range between $12 and maybe $18. So it just kind of hung out there, which is what it was doing. But yeah, you're going to get a lot of people buying. Donald Trump has all his fans, right? So you get a lot of people buying it. It peaked out. It looks like he opened it in October of 2021, and it peaked out at about $100, right? So it came down after it opened to 48, and it held nicely. Because a lot of these companies, when you open them, they don't they jump they just keep going down, 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 down. His only went down for like a few weeks, and then popped up to a nice 100, and then it did the typical pattern of a new company where it settles down and it finds an equilibrium. If it was approved by the SEC, you're seeing since the mid-January, so the last month or so, it's been doing well. I would look at this as a continuation pattern. So I would look at this. Find my triangle. Find my triangle. Yo, find the triangles. All right, so something like this. Looks like it had a fake out breakout. This is a bullish ascending triangle. Okay. People like to talk trash on patterns sometimes, but they work just fine. They tell a story. This is a story that's being told by price action, and it's kind of barely meeting what I needed to meet for this. I wouldn't have the most confidence in this, but it works for me. Near term, I'd look at targets. We'll do this first, then we'll take a look at. Actually, I'm gonna undo what I just said. We're going to keep this here. We're going to look at this, but I want to see what the algos say on this. It's bullish. It's bullish as hell. Just to look at the algos, it's bullish on the high time frame, right? So when you're bullish on the high time frame, you're going to have periods where it's going to take a break, but it is bullish on the high time frame. So I'd say now it is taking a break, and if it can maintain being inside that bullish wedge. So let's just say that price kind of heads down for a bit. It may head down for a bit, but if price can stay inside of this wedge right here, so maybe like depending on how quickly it goes down, stay above 43, 44, whatever the number is, right? If it can stay above that, then you're looking at possible breakout. Let's see here. Being as this Trump stock, you might see some funny business going on. But it might kind of pull one of these. So, I mean, if you're just trading, that's if you're asking for charts, it really should mean that you're just trading, right? If you're like thinking of holding it long term, then these charts really shouldn't matter to you, right? If you're going to hold, you're going to hold. If you're going to sell, you're going to sell. All right. So, if I were trading, and that's the only reason I would care about charts is if I were trading, look for something like this. It might not go this deep, but look for something like this with targets up at, maybe $60. 60 is a nice target. Stop loss could be pretty tight. It could be as loose as this. This is pretty loose, but it could have something tighter. You might be able to enter sooner. you could just take a risk and enter like way sooner, and you don't risk as much money. But either way, however you enter, however your stop loss is set, I would look at my first target around 53, maybe 53.30, and the next target below $60, like 59.95 or something like that. Long term, who knows? I mean, it topped out at 100. I get the feeling that his company will do well. First, I think what's going to happen, I think what'll happen is that judgment will be, he'll appeal it, and something more reasonable. Either he'll be acquitted or whatever the term is, or it'll be something more realistic if there is a judgment. Because that's just that, like I said, that's an activist judge, trying to make headlines, and this is an election year. This is what just went on in the court was extremely abnormal. So I imagine that the justice system will find something more reasonable if he is guilty or liable or whatever the term is in his court. I think that's a civil matter. No, I think there was a felony. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't pay attention to crap like that. I look at charts. Like all that stuff is a big TV show to me. But I do think that that might have an effect on the price of this. I don't know. But that's all I can tell you for now. Is what's on the charts. Arcadia asks, "What is your opinion of the Bitcoin halving in April?" I mean, Arcadia, I don't really think about that kind of stuff in that high regard. I know a lot of people like, where's it going to be in 2 years? I don't really give a shit. What I care about is where's it going to be in 2 days? Where's it going to be in 30 minutes? That's how I make my money. Where's it going to be in 2 years? I don't know. I invest in Bitcoin. It's the same thing with this Trump stock. If you're investing, you just buy and hold. You sell it later. If you're investing in something, you're believing in the project, right? So the effect of Bitcoin halving in April is it's going to go up. That's it. Will it rise as much as 4 years ago? I don't know. I don't really care. Having more currencies, I don't even know if that has an effect. But I will say that it's probably going to go up, right? Because you got all the institutional money going in. You have all these, BlackRock and everybody else putting money. They're buying Bitcoin to fund their ETFs. Bitcoin is probably going to be in a big way the future of a lot of trading, right? Because these companies are coming to an end of when they can use the stock market to pump their bags. What's going on in the markets and the stock market and all that right now it's pretty brutal. I know it looks like markets are up, but the reality is that markets are just being inflated. So they're going to need a new game, and they need a new game now. So yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm confident saying with Bitcoin is that it will go up, right? I did a show like 2 weeks ago that did some pretty, I didn't, outside of my, it's not outside of my capabilities, but it's outside of the amount of time I have to give a crap. But some guy did like some high level math using a log chart and mean, and he took it all the way out to like, Bitcoin might be $1 million 10 years from now. And at the end of the cycle in 2025, according to this math, it should be like $250,000, or actually, I think his number was 170,000, right? Okay, that's fine. But what he's not taking into account is the fact that institutional money is now in the game. And so whatever we think is going to happen can be severely modified by institutional money, at least in the near term. And the other question is that in the far future, what are dollars going to be worth, right? If there is a massive devaluation of the dollar, Bitcoin could be worth $10 million, but it's, only buying you like a loaf of bread. You see what I'm saying? So, it's all very relative. So it's not worth my time to sit and wonder what's going to happen to Bitcoin in 4 years. I know it's probably going to go up. I know it's probably going to be higher than its prior high. I personally have like just a kind of a range out there of 80,000 to 120,000 as the next high, but understand that it doesn't matter, right? That's that kind of stuff is like, oh, okay, well, it's probably going to happen. Like, the farther out you forecast, the less accurate your forecasts. So if I can forecast out hours, maybe days, maybe weeks, right? And a lot of time those forecasts are correct, especially when you're dealing with like larger, older assets with a lot of history. Then it's really easy for me to say, oh yeah, well, I think in the next week or two, this is going to happen. But to ask me what happens like a year or two from now, fuck, I mean, I don't know. You're talking about, I don't know, has World War III popped off? Like, there's so many things that can happen that can foul up your what do you call it? Your forecast. It's not worth forecasting out that far. So that's why I don't mean to like put you off or be flippant. Like that's not my goal here. But I mean that's just what people want to know. Where's it going to be? And they don't like the answers I give because my answers are real. It's like, hey man, I don't know. No one knows. People can make their guesses, but the only real answer is that it's probably going to be higher than last time's peak. I think I think we're going to see some things that we didn't expect with Bitcoin in many different ways. And I think a lot of people who think Bitcoin's going to go up to this, super high levels, I think the only way Bitcoin gets up to like, $1 million is through a devaluation of the dollar, right? And that's really what Bitcoin in and of itself going up like it has all these years is actually, many people feel that it is a show of inflation, right? A lot of people think that it is like gold, a measure of what's happened to the dollar. So I think it's a little more than that. I think that the value of Bitcoin it's gone up in a big way because of its value proposition, not just because of some devaluation of the dollar. So, all right. Well, I started a little bit late, so I can take this a little bit further. We got time for one more chart before we move over to the private show. So if anybody has any questions, it's a good time to ask it. In the meantime, I'm gonna, go over to Solana really quick and see what that looks like. Okay, so Solana did manage to find some, it's Solana looks like it's building a range. Let me go to the high time frame here and just kind of take a look at the algos. Okay, bullish, a little funky here. All right, so Solana is kind of taking a break. I think some of the other cryptos are taking the money out of Solana. So Solana, though, I mean, it's not going anywhere down. I don't think. I think Solana is just kind of maintaining its level. I think people are extremely still interested in Solana. We might have it kind of find an equilibrium in this current area because you got both bearish and bullish forces, and you have volatility clearly falling down. Its volatility is decreasing, right? So if I'm not mistaken, and this could change, of course, but it does look like it's building a little bit of a range in this area. It's probably I might be premature saying that. I might be a little premature saying this is a range, but it looks like it might build a range in this area. We're going to see about that. Clearly it was, it did develop a healthy range down in this area that it wanted to bounce back and forth, at least through here, and then it broke out of that, right? So there that did exist, and it does seem as if you look at some older price action that we do have some bouncage, kind of almost more like this. No, I would say it's like this. There's a potential for it to kind of maybe rekindle this range. We'll see about it. We'll see how this goes. Of course, if it drops down, then this bottom range may end up being extended as well. So you kind of have these two areas that can be projected out to the future. But for now, Solana is very slow. And what happens with a lot of things is that you get these ranges built on low volume, and then whatever the main direction is going to take over. And right now, if I were just to say it, the main direction for Solana is up right now. Solana is hot. It is hot. And I think if price ranges out right here and all things remain equal, it will break upwards from here and eventually make its way up into the mid 140s. And I have many times publicly talked about how I like 142 to 144 as kind of a local possible top for Solana. So you're talking about 110 to 144. I mean, that's going to be a 28, 27% increase from where it is, of course, it could go down before it does that, but I do believe we'll see that in the next 2 months. Probably we'll see about it. We'll see. It just really depends on what happens with the rest of crypto, right? But if Bitcoin remains stable and the AI pump calms down, I would expect, even if it doesn't, I would expect Solana to regain its footing. So we are now at the end of the show. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to move over to the private live lab. But, do us a favor, come over to algofactory.tech. Okay. So all these little measurements, these methodologies, this stuff's like easy. I know you see all the stuff on the screen and it looks complex and it's like, oh, I could never learn that. And that's just simply not true. I've taught people of all education levels how to do this, right? You don't have to have some degree in math, anything like that. Making money by trading markets is something that takes work. Okay. So this is something that takes time. You're not going to get rich overnight doing it. And you may never get rich, right? I mean, there's no guarantee of success. But if you stick with it and if you stick with the methodologies and you'll develop your own trading method, and that's what's key. Look, here's the thing that people don't understand about trading. There are three parts to trading, right? There's the actual algo itself, right? You have to understand the algo, right? And then there's making it a business where you have to understand how to conserve your capital and how to keep yourself from losing all your money, basically. That's the second leg. And the third leg is your psychological component. And the big dirty secret, I don't know, maybe it's not dirty, but the big clean secret, whatever, is that if you develop your own trading method, then your psychology is going to be strong because you created that method. And the psychology of trading is it's so butterfly wings. It's so butterfly wings. It's like, once touched, forever. What is the word? Compromised. So, it's one of those things where if you lose that psychological edge, you will simply not be a good trader. That's just how it is. Even doesn't matter if you have the perfect trading technique, if your psychology isn't there, you'll fail for psychological reasons. I've seen it time and time again. I've lived it even. The trick is I stuck with it and I stopped using other people's methods and developed my own. Okay. So when you develop your own, you've imbued your trading with your own fingerprint and you trust it, and you're not going to go through a losing streak because there are always losing streaks. There's always losing streaks. I don't care how perfect the best trading method with the best numbers out there is going to go through losing streaks, right? You're going to lose 3, 4 in a row. You're going to say, man, this doesn't work. I don't know what I was thinking. And you're going to quit. Well, no, not if you do it our way. Not if you create your own method and you go and you test it and you spend hour after hour going through and testing it. And you still go back through time and you're like, hey, I just did a test 200 times going back through history. I saw that there were some streaks where I lost 3, 4, or 5 times in a row. And that just is what it is. And then you'll get through it. You'll continue to trade and you'll be successful. And you never know, you could end up making that your life. It's possible. Anything's possible. Come over to algofactory.tech. Join us.
Join us or die.
Come on, man. Come on, Alan Rickman. Tell us about it. Like, I'm supposed to have Alan Rickman come up. Join us or die. Just kidding. Don't die. That's not true. All right. We'll catch you all on the next one. We'll see you over in the private lab. I'm going to go ahead and get that up and running right now. And please come back on this show. Ask questions. We're able to do charts for you, even if you are not a member of Algo Factory. All right. We'll see you on the next one.